that doesn't really come into play, so you can just kind of ignore that. Mainly what I'm concerned about here is my function, which is 36x squared.
That'd be 8x, because you have to square root it.
Now hold on a second. So I start with y equals 36x squared. I want to switch x and y. Okay? Now I want to get rid of the y squared. But before you take the square root of y squared, I want to first look at that number in front and say, is that a perfect square too? Yes. Okay? So I can just take the square root of the whole thing, because that's a perfect square too. Okay? So I can do square root of x equals the square root of 36y squared. Oh yeah, y squared. Where did I get the 6?
You're thinking the square root of 36 is 6.
I was. Sometimes I'm thinking a step ahead and I write down the wrong thing. Okay? Now what's the square root of 36y squared? Just 36, square root of 36 is 6, square root of y squared is y. Now what's the last step to get y by itself?
Divided by 6.
Divide by 6. Okay? So my inverse ends up being square root of x divided by 6.
Now what if it wasn't a square there? So if it wasn't a number?
I would need to leave, instead of changing the square root of 36 into 6, I would need to leave the square root over it. So I'd end up with a square root on the bottom. Square root of 6 there too. Don't worry about that just yet. We'll run into that later. But here it should always put a perfect square. Yours has a perfect square, right? Yeah. Everybody should have a perfect square on that. Okay, now if you want to get the square root here, you want to click the square root button, put the x under it, and then click on the bottom. Got really something for you guys to do yourselves here. Let's look at number 33, and then we'll take a break, and really we'll be done a little bit early today so you guys can have some time to work on stuff. Okay? The funny thing about word problems is that when you switch your variables in your word problem, it also switches the meaning of the variables. So if I switch x and y, then whatever x and y meant are going to switch. Okay? So before I want to do anything here on 33, I want to write down what my variables mean. It's doing that thing where it doesn't want to let me write here. There we go. Okay, so when my original function t is the number of years after 1975. Okay? And then f of t is the percent of high school seniors who have tried cigarettes. That sounds goofy, doesn't it? Okay, so t is the years, and f of t is the percent. Okay, so that's my original function. Now when I find my inverse, the percent. And the inverse, which is f negative 1 of t, is going to be the years after 1975. Okay? Now what the inverse here will let us do is, instead of just finding the percent for each year, the inverse will let us say, well, I want to figure out when the percent is going to be equal to a certain number. Okay, so if I know what I want the percent to be, I can figure out what year that would happen. Okay, so when you switch the variables, it's going to take the meaning with it. So let's actually find the inverse here. Okay, so my original function is f of t equals 75.457 minus 0.703 t. Okay, now if I want to switch my variables, then I need a y here instead of f of t. Okay, now I want to switch my variables. So I'm going to switch my y and my t. So I would have t equal 75.457 minus 0.703 y. Okay? Now what do I need to do now to get y by itself?
Subtract 75%.
Subtract that 75 number. Okay, so I get t minus 75.457 equals minus 0.703y. And then what do I need to do?
Add the 73.
Divide.
Oh,
It's not the, if it was y minus, then I would
Okay.
then I would add it. But if it's multiplied, yes. The sign of the number doesn't matter. It's the fact that it's multiplied by y. Okay, so I end up with t minus 457 over negative 0.703 equals y. And that is my inverse. Okay? Now, a problem I have with this problem is that if I type in what I just got there, that seems like a reasonable place to stop, right? I got y by itself, so I'm going to stop here. The problem I have here is that in the example, they keep going. Did you guys already do this one just to... Yes?
I ended up with the answer, by following the example, I ended up with the answer being
Yes. This.
minus t, like the positive number.
But how did they get from here to here? That's the problem I have, is that everyone just kind of copies what they do here, but I'm not sure people understand what's going on.
Multiply
They
by
mul-
a negative 1.
They multiply the top and bottom by -1, but they don't show you that. So what I'm saying is, don't do that. Just divide by the negative number and leave the negative on the bottom, because that's perfectly fine. Okay? But this, to me, does not follow. I mean, it follows, but they skipped some steps there. Okay? So I'm asking you guys to just use your brain and answer with the negative on the bottom, because that, to me, makes more sense. And there's absolutely no reason to do what they did there. Okay, so I'm just going to leave the negative on the bottom. Negative 0.703. And then accept that. Okay, you don't need to multiply the top and bottom by -1. If you do, that's okay, but to me there's no logical reason to do that. Okay. Now here's where we would use the inverse function. Instead of knowing a year and finding a percent, what if we know a percent and we want to figure out the year? We want to work backwards. So if I want to figure out the year in which the percent fillable is 66%. Okay? Now here's another problem with my math lab that I have is that sometimes when they use percents, you have to change it to a decimal, like 0.66 instead of 66%. And sometimes you don't. Okay? So there's really not a good way to know what to do except to just learn what each problem wants you to do. Okay? So if you're not sure if you need to change that 66% to a decimal, you can always look at the example. But I've done these enough times to know that this is one where you don't have to change it to a decimal. You can just plug in 66 for t. Okay, so I can just plug in 66. And I think that's right. Is that right? You don't change it to a decimal on this one? Have I done this one yet? That's right, yeah. So you just kind of learn this problem you don't need to change it. And you kind of learn that by, if you change it to a decimal, you get kind of a wacky answer that doesn't make sense.
So would that be points? Oh, I see what you mean. Don't turn it to a decimal.
Yeah, don't change it to 0.66. Now, some problems I would have to change that to 0.66. You just kind of have to learn what individual problems want you to do. Yes, Bridget.
They say you make it wrong, but whenever it shows the correct answer, my answer was correct.
I'll come back there in a second.
It's a 4. Correct answer is 4.
Okay, let me try to do this first. I get -9.457 divided by -0.703. And I get 13.4523471. Now it tells me round to the nearest whole number. So if I rounded that, it would round to just 13. Okay. Because 0.4 is less than 0.5. Now my answer isn't 13. My answer is 13 years after 1975. So I have to add 1975 to that, and I get 1988 for my answer. Okay, let me put that back over on the notes, so let me come see what's wrong over here. Let you guys work on yours. Period or something. Yeah, it's 13. That's period. There's something I'm thinking.
What was that? You remind me of the mother now. Remember?
That was like the shampoo.
Always taking
The guy with the orange fuzzy hair. He was like me.
Oh, bigger?
Yeah, there you go. Bigger. That was awesome.
Oh, it's
And
just
then
a
divide it by, and then you're going to divide that by your negative.
It makes a dissatisfied noise because the answer came out wrong. You're like, what the hell is that?
Now hit -8.45 million.
Alright, let me give you guys a quiz.
No.
Not particularly.
Alright, so when would this quiz be due?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with it. Let's see
17th?
right here. Let me write that.
Like others for the day.
Okay, so what am I doing wrong? Told ya. I knew what I'm doing wrong.
Alright, quiz should be there then. Alright, so we've got a little bit of time here. Let me just let you guys go. You have the rest of the time to work on assignment 3 and quiz 3. So if you need to take a break now, go ahead and take a break, and we'll have some free time today because you guys have been working hard so far. So I'll go ahead and post the notes for today, and I'll
Yeah.
spend the rest of the time just working.
Okay.